everyone. Today we will be discussing three-phase induction generator. The topics to be covered are working principle of induction generator, torque slip characteristics of induction generator, working as a standalone system, voltage buildup of standalone induction generator and its applications. So what is working principle of the induction generator? The induction generator, while connected to constant voltage frequency, is mechanically coupled to a prime mover and run above the synchronous speed. The rotor overtakes the rotating magnetic field and the rotor conductors cut the magnetic field in reverse direction to the motor rotation. This means that the rotating magnetic field is still rotating in the same direction while the rotor is also rotated in the same direction by some prime mover and it runs above the synchronous speed. Therefore, the slip between the rotor and the rotating magnetic field will be just in the reverse manner, that because now NR will be greater than NS, so it will be the negative slip. Therefore, the rotor EMFs and current reverses its direction because the slip is negative. Therefore, the rotor EMF and current will be also just reversing its direction. We won't say negative because it is having some usefulness. Therefore, it will be just reversing its direction. The reaction force between the rotating magnetic field and the rotor current also changes its direction and now opposes the rotation. To maintain this rotation, the mechanical energy is required to be delivered to the rotor and the magnetizing current remains the same since the rotating field condition remains the same. The power under these conditions become negative and it starts delivering power to the system. The equivalent circuit and torque slip characteristics remain the same, taking the negative slip into account. Now suppose this is a induction motor which was rotating in the clockwise direction initially and the slip was in the same direction because the rotating field is also in the clockwise direction. So in the same direction the slip was equal to Ns minus Nr and the torque was also produced in the same direction and it was for the positive slip, and here the NR rotation of the rotor is less than the synchronous speed. So that is the motoring action. When you start driving the rotor by some prime mover in the same direction but above the synchronous speed, in that case the slip reverses. Now the slip is Ns minus Nr, but the resultant, because Nr is greater than Ns, so the slip will be negative and the torque produced will be in the opposite direction, and hence instead of drawing power from the system, it will start delivering power to the system. And because it absorbs the magnetizing current, hence it absorbs the reactive power of the system, and it can't feed the reactive power but it can draw the reactive power from the system. This is the torque slip characteristics. Over here, when the machine is acting as an induction generator, it will be the generating region which will be taken into consideration, and over here the slip will vary from 0 to -1, while the operating region is again the straight line duration, and further if you increase the rotating speed of the induction generator, it will come into the unstable region. So it's very close to the synchronous speed, but above the synchronous speed it has to be rotated by the prime mover, and then the machine will go into the generating mode and it will draw the reactive power from the system but deliver active power to the system. Hence, this induction machine is quite common in the wind generation system. The remaining portion remains the same for the induction motoring region. We are not concerned over here. For the induction machine to continue working as the generator, the magnetizing current must be available as before. This means we can't segregate from its supply. Thus, an induction generator is not self-exciting and must be operated in parallel with another source which can supply the required magnetizing current. Now, what are its limitations? The limitations are, since it does not have a field circuit, it cannot produce the reactive power. It consumes reactive power from the magnetizing current which must be supplied to it. The induction generator can't control its output voltage and hence controlled by the external power system which supplies the magnetizing current. To operate the generator in isolation, the capacitor banks must be connected at its terminal to provide the reactive power and the other loads. So, in general, we can understand that induction generator must be connected to a system which is already working, and the induction generator will get its excitation from the supply system, and then it can feed back the active power to the system by absorbing the reactive power, and if it is run by some prime mover above the synchronous speed. Now the standalone induction generators needs a capacitor bank. So over here we have shown the stator and we have shown the capacitive power. The capacitor power is actually feeding the magnetizing current, so the reactive power is drawn by the induction generator. But beyond the capacitor connection, we have shown the reactive power being fed, means if the reactive power will be required by the electrical load, that will be supplied by the capacitor bank itself. So the operation of the induction generator in isolation has to be done with the capacitor bank, which will maintain its terminal voltage and also give the magnetizing current which is required for the induction generator field generation in particular, so that it can work as a standalone system not connected to the extensive power system. Now the standalone induction generator voltage buildup is similar to the DC generator curve. The no load generator voltage is given by the point of intersection of the generator's magnetization curve and the capacitor load line. The voltage buildup is smaller to the self-excited DC generator with the help of the residual magnetism. Means if the residual magnetism is not there in the induction generator, then first we have to run it as an induction motor, have the residual magnetism, and then we can add the capacitor bank to the system and it will start working as a standalone induction generator. The output frequency varies 5% from no load to full load, and due to its simplicity and small size per kilowatt of power output, it is practically being used in the windmills or for the wind generation, as you hear about it. Almost wind generation is installed throughout our coastal line, and you can understand the application of the induction generator in the wind generation in particular, because we are focusing on the renewable energy sources and wind generation is coming up in a large extent. Now the voltage buildup, if you see the graph over here, the graph shows that you have got the magnetization curve which is similar to the DC generator, and the different capacitor values has been connected over here as C1, C2, C3. Like you can have different capacitor banks connected in parallel so that you get the different values of the capacitance, and where it intersects the magnetization curve, that is the actual voltage buildup of the given generator. So by changing the value of the capacitor or by controlling the value of the capacitor, the magnitude of the voltage can be controlled, because there is no other way of controlling the field. Hence the magnetization current is being controlled by the value of the capacitor, and that is how we control the induction generator voltage buildup. So today we have understood about the working principle of induction generator, torque slip characteristics of induction generator, its working on standalone system, and the voltage buildup for the standalone system, and its application which is mainly in the wind generation. Thank you.